Good morning, gang. Happy Wednesday. Well, this one is not Russia, not Ukraine, not Iran, not North Korea, not anything like that. Okay? This is a hell of a lot scarier and close to home. Y'all know that lately, both Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are refusing to take Joe's calls. Okay? Well, we finally found out why yesterday. Article in the Wall Street Journal. The Saudis are now in talks with China to accept payment for oil in yuan, not in US dollars. Now, mind you, all oil has been traded in the US in in the world in US dollars since 1974, when Nixon had basically offered the Saudis protection, if you will. Well, apparently the Saudis don't care a whole lot about our protection anymore because they're now considering flipping over to China. Now, don't underestimate Joe's ability to fuck things up. Quote from Barack Obama. All right. Well, here's why. All right. The Saudis are pissed because the U.S. Didn't support them in their intervention in the Yemeni civil war. Okay, there's one. They're also pissed about the fact that Biden is trying to strike a deal with Iran again regarding the nuclear program. Okay, because remember, Iran and the Saudis are not friendly. Okay, and the Saudis are also pissed about the way Joe pulled out of Afghanistan. Okay, because again, the Taliban and the Saudis are not on friendly terms. Okay, so Joe has managed to make our second biggest ally in the Middle East, behind Israel, run away. Now, I know a lot of people who don't understand this are going to go, well, big deal, so what if they settle in yuan instead of settle in dollars? Here's the problem. China buys 25% of Saudi's oil, and they pump a lot of oil. Now, this would be the first step to the dollar using its world reserve currency status. This is where it gets scary. This is how it affects to you. If all of a sudden the yuan winds up the world reserve currency and the dollar is no longer, you would have somewhere between 40 and 60 trillion dollars in petro and euro dollars hit the market, basically in a fire sale. Okay, because if countries no longer need to have the US dollar in reserve to buy this stuff, they need to have the yuan instead. They're just going to dump dollars on the open market like crazy. Well, what happens when you have a ton of sellers? Just like you have in the stock market. If there's more sellers than buyers, okay, you have a collapse. Think of 1929, think of 1987, stock market collapses. Think of 2009 or 2008, 2009. Think of all that. More sellers than buyers. What happened? Stock market went to hell. Now do that with the dollar, okay? If the dollar is no longer a world reserve currency, basically the only place it's good is in the United States to buy U.S. products. Oh, that's right. We don't make anything here anymore. Ready to start having our government pay the Chinese for all the crap you buy at Walmart in yuan? That's what's coming, okay? This would pretty much give you hyperinflation instantly. You could see 50 to 100% inflation overnight. Yeah, okay. This is how dependent the dollar is on being the world reserve currency, okay? If all of a sudden the rest of the world doesn't need to have any, they just sell it, okay? they're going to exchange their dollars for yuan. And all of a sudden you have this flood of dollars, which just like we have going on right now in the country with all this extra printed money, we have inflation. Imagine 40 to 60 trillion dollars coming into the marketplace all at once. Boink! Everything doubles except your paycheck. Okay. Then, of course, all those devalued dollars, well, they're going to buy a whole lot less of the junk from China. Okay. They're also going to buy a whole lot less in the way of commodities like, I don't know, food, oil, all that sort of stuff. So what do you see? Food prices go up. Oil prices go up. All of a sudden now we're paying the same amount of money for gasoline that Europe is, Canada is, whatever, $7, $8 a gallon, California is, okay. Now add all those taxes on there too, that, California, the crazy taxes that they pay on a gallon of gas, all right. Now all of a sudden, the dollar is the equivalent of, I don't know, the yen, maybe, the euro, maybe, okay, maybe it's less, okay. I don't think it's down to the bolivar, but then you have this, okay, and Nancy Pelosi might want to understand this one, all right, is now the U.S. is going to have to pay competitive interest rates in the open market to sell debt so they can pay the interest on the debt, which means now all of a sudden, the government is paying 10%. Gee, you think that's unheard of? Look at what the interest rate is in Russia, pre-invasion, 20%. Look at what it was in Brazil, 20%, okay? Those are real world numbers. What you'd wind up having in something like this is nearly 100% of the federal tax dollars that you pay here in a month, okay, going to pay interest on the U.S. debt. That's it. No new spending, no paying off the debt. All we'd be doing is paying debt service. That is a collapse of an economy, guys. That's when Nancy Pelosi can't come up and go, well, by government spending, we're actually saving money. Okay. I mean, I don't know how many bottles of wine she had when she made that comment, but yeah, I mean, that's how stupid that she thinks we are. So this would be instantly eradicate the middle class, right? Which, hey, good old Klaus Schwab, that's what he wants. So you would have the Bezoses and the Zuckerbergs and the Gates. Well, yeah, their wealth would be cut in half, but big deal. When you're worth $1 billion, who cares if you're worth 500 million? All right, not a big deal. But when you're the average American making somewhere around 50 grand, and all of a sudden overnight you're now trying to live on half of that, okay? Think of that. If the prices double or your paycheck gets cut in half, same thing, all right? Imagine paying all your bills right now on half of your take-home pay. Can't do it. 99% of the country could not do it, right? So what do you have then? Oh, I don't know, mass bankruptcies, mass foreclosures, and all that. Oh, those of you guys on Social Security, sorry, they don't have the money for that. Okay, that's got to be borrowed again, right? But if we're paying only interest, whatever you get on your Social Security, you might be able to buy a few loaves of bread. So what are you going to have? Mass starvation of senior citizens? Think of anybody else on government assistance. Welfare, food stamps, Section 8. Bye-bye. Homelessness, starvation, food riots, higher crime. This is what this means, guys. If the Saudis decide to start accepting oil trade in yuan, which they are in negotiations to do right now, that's the death knell of the dollar. Because guess what? India is also doing the same thing. Okay? Joe has managed to piss off every country in the world in a year. Okay? I mean, when Emmanuel Macron is leading the march to stop whatever's going on in Ukraine and Russia. Somebody explained to me when the last time anybody said the leader of the free world is the president of France. We're in trouble. We're in real trouble if that happens. All of a sudden you have half of the money or less. The U.S. economy will collapse. The U.S. stock market will collapse. The food prices, utility prices, gas prices will skyrocket, and nobody will be able to afford anything. You want to talk about depression too? That is exactly what will cause it, and we're this close. Pinball out.